June 30th, 2025. We left Worthington for Minneapolis. We've got a picture that I think I can pull up here. We're going to see if this works. All right, there we are, out here in the church parking lot. There are 50 of us that left for Minneapolis. We flew from Minneapolis to Chicago, from Chicago to Helsinki, Finland, from Helsinki to Tallinn, Estonia. And when we got there, usually you don't have a whole lot of sleep during those trips. And we've got there, we checked into our hotel, and that was City Box. It was actually a really nice hotel, and we had anywhere from 2 to a room to, I don't know how many, was there 4 or 5? 4 in a room. And I had a broom closet. Actually, it was a kind of small, it was a single room, and it was just designed. If you go to any European country too, if you get some of these hotel rooms, they can get really small. And so I had to mop the floor in the broom closet, but everything did work out okay. We checked into our hotel, and the main mode of travel is tram, to be able to go from one place to another. So we had a card just to be able to scan the tram when you would get on, and you can get anywhere in the city of Tallinn. Tallinn has a population of about 460,000, and that's probably the main mode of transportation. But you can get scooters, and what's awesome is you can download like the Bolt app on your phone, and you can find a car somewhere, maybe it's a few blocks away, unlock the car, get in it, and drive away with that vehicle. So anything from a scooter to a car. We also did that with a moving van to be able to get one of those, and you just leave it in a certain area and leave the keys in it and go, and it's pretty amazing, the technology. Tallinn is a very dark country as far as the gospel being there, but there is so much technology. They're one of the leading countries of technology, and everything that takes place, even checking into the hotel, there was no one there. You had to do it all online, and it worked actually quite well for the most part. Every once in a while you have a glitch here and there. So the tram was the main way that we were able to get around. As I had mentioned, Tallinn is a country of about 460, it's a city of about 460,000. You'll see that is the red dot that's up there in Estonia. Just south of that is Latvia. You see Riga, Latvia, the capital. We'll be talking about that in just a few moments because we also went to Riga, Latvia. It's on the Baltic Sea, and then it covers a lot of, actually Tallinn is on the sea. They have some really pretty beaches that you can go to, and the water's usually a little bit cooler, but a beautiful country to be able to be a part of. Jordy and Elizabeth Nunez, the day before we left, they were here and shared. Many of you know who they are. They're missionaries that we support. And their daughter Amelia, they're the ones that we went to work with. They have a team of people over there, I think around a dozen individuals plus kids who are a part of their team who are working together in the ministry that God has called them to. They are a part of Focus Church. Now the two on your left, you see the door going into the church, the other is the building outside, and the church is more of an international church. It wasn't started that way. It was started to reach the Estonian people, but has become a very international church. The country is a very international country where people are coming in, so all of the services are in English. Everything that's done is pretty much in English. They work with Focus Church, but they're not on staff as a part of Focus Church. And the people on their team, many of them also are connected with Focus Church. We met there almost every day in the morning for a time of prayer and gathering together and sharing and ministering with one another before we would go out. So there's a close connection between the two. Jordy and Elizabeth, several years ago when they went to Estonia, what the Lord had laid on their heart is a coffee house and a coffee shop, and that's where you see Kamala in front of CoLab. CoLab is the name, it's like Coffee Lab, is a ministry that allows people to come in And it's a connection point that it's in a great place, also in a residential neighborhood. And what happens is they do outreaches, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit, but then invite people to CoLab, along with Focus Church, but CoLab for anything from coffee cupping to game night and other things, to make a connection with people and hopefully lead into eventually sharing the gospel with them. Anybody know what a coffee cupping is? Oh, good, because I had no clue either. I didn't know what it was. I was thinking of, like cupping that they do for like therapy, it leaves the circles on your skin and things like that. You can have people come in and you do that with coffee? No, it's a coffee tasting is what it is. Coffee cupping is a coffee tasting. We weren't there for that. They had that after we left, but it allows them something very simple to invite people to. And a lot of ministry takes place out of that location. We do have a video that I want us to show. It shows just kind of the inside. We didn't get all of it, but the front area of CoLab. There you're walking in the front door. There's they're making the coffee. And walking back. There's part of our team. They're busy ministering with coffee. Tim, Sarah, she's going to hide back there. So if you could go back, Jeanette, to the last one. That's just a little bit. So when they talk about CoLab or their coffee ministry, that's the location. That's what it looks like on the inside. While we were there, we helped in several different days in various projects that took place. And I've got a few different slides with this. We had cleaning out a storage area. Actually, I think that was Elizabeth and Jordy's, wasn't it? Storage area. And yeah, that's right. Some other missionaries that were there. And Elizabeth wanted it cleaned out when Jordy wasn't there because he hoards things and likes to keep it, and she likes to throw it. So we got rid of a lot of his stuff while we were in there. I don't know if he's ever figured it out yet or not. He hasn't sent me any information. But we also helped a couple of missionaries move out of one place into another. And so here you see the ladies carrying a mattress up. Some things, there was an elevator you could get things into, and other places there was no elevator, and you had to walk up the stairs with it. So it was a great workout to be able to do that. Some other things that took place that we did, you see painting that they're doing. That is at CoLab, I believe. Lori and Colleen, that was at the missionary's house, I believe, where they went in and cleaned, moved stuff out, and then they did a great job cleaning. Painting was at CoLab. There was some light construction that took place and some electrical work that took place and a variety of different things. And you see the two Tims that are there working on the light fixture, and it didn't go well for Tim. He got shocked and he fell to the ground, and no, I'm just kidding. He's fixing something there on that picture on the ground, and that's Amelia, Jordy and Elizabeth's little girl. Who's watching. They did some work in their facility. That was the center one is at the church, Focus Church, and I don't know if you guys all were going through toys or cleaning or what it was. I'm going to have you guys share just a second here of a little bit of what you did. And then in one of the missionaries' houses, I believe, is that last picture. Why don't we can you guys just share a little bit of maybe some of the hands-on projects that you did or were a part of while you were there? And you can just take turns. You can use this microphone too.
Okay, I'll start. The first day I painted in CoLab with Gretchen, and we painted the little kids area. And I love this because when Elizabeth was down talking to the women's ministry about a year ago, we raised money to build this little kids area, and so I got to be a part of finishing it, or getting it going. And so that was just kind of a full circle thing. So I loved that. And then the next day that we were doing projects, I washed a lot of kids' toys at the church, so they were all disinfected, cleaned, and ready to go to get dirty the very next day at church.
The first day I went ahead and helped in that storage unit. There was a lot of stuff in that unit to carry out and then get rid of what we needed to and then put the other stuff back in there and clean that up. The next, I had helped with moving one of the missionaries to their new home and then also helping clean at the church there. I worked in cleaning all the cabinets out in the kitchen.
I was also part of the storage unit clean out the first day, and then I helped a missionary move and helped carry the mattress up 4 flights of stairs and all the bed frames, and then I also helped deep clean all the kids' toys in the whole kids area.
I also helped clean out the storage unit and helped move the missionary. I was on the tail end of the mattress trying to move it up those stairs. And then I washed the windows in the church.
They were so funny with that mattress. It was those two and Carissa, and they were bound and determined they were not going to have any help to do it. They actually just went out and got it themselves. Yeah, so they made like a taco out of this king-size mattress and like walked it up the steps. It was very, very funny. They're very determined. So they have an apartment above the coffee shop that interns stay in, and it was like boy clean when we moved in, and that was like not gonna work for us. So Lori and I and several others deep cleaned that thing, and it was so satisfying. That was great. And then Terry and I did some that's the church bathrooms actually. We did some bathroom cleaning and tended to the plants that needed some love, and then also helped the missionaries move.
Yeah, I helped clean the boy apartment, the boy clean one, and it was interesting. And then I helped clean in the church. We did a deep clean for the Focus Church there, and then in one of the apartments of one of the missionaries there, we cleaned his apartment as all the guys moved out. I did a lot of deep, cleaning up after all of that.
I also got to help clean up the disgusting apartment. Boy clean doesn't even come close to what it was. So, which uniquely had the shower in the kitchen, and I've never seen that before. So, and then I got to take pictures of the girls taking the mattress up the stairs, and it was absolutely hilarious how hard they worked to do that. And so, yeah, I just did what they did.
Yeah, one of the unique things that Lori had mentioned is that in several of the homes, the shower is in the kitchen. They didn't have a shower, and there's still several homes in an older part that don't have a shower or bathtub or anything in them. So what they'll do, going to a sauna is very much a part of their culture. And what they'll do is they'll go there and they'll shower, they'll do their sauna and clean up that way at a public area, public location, and where they're able to go and do that. And I believe if you're a citizen, I don't think it costs anything to be able to go and do that. But that really is a part of their culture. One of the nights before we left, were able to go, I don't know if everybody went, but we had the option to go to a sauna, and talk about hot. I've been in some before, but this was really, really hot. So you work up that sweat, you're in there for a little bit, and then you go out and they have these buckets that you pull down into this freezing cold water that dumps on you, and then you go back in for a little while, and then you come back out and you just continue that cycle. And it was very unique. I enjoyed it, actually. I don't know that I want to do that every day, but that's why some of them have showers in the kitchens, because that's the only place where it would work, where it would fit to have that. So it's not like, you have guests over and it's like, excuse me, I'm going to take a shower. You can take your dishes in with you and clean the dishes while you're taking your shower, kind of dual purpose there. One of the days we went to Helsinki. We crossed the Gulf of Finland, took a ferry 2 hours into Helsinki, more of a fun day. One of the places that we went and visited was the Rock Church. And this church, it's a Lutheran church that's actually built into rock back in 1969. Quite a fascinating place to be able to walk through. We spent some time praying there. We'll talk about this in just a few moments, but prayer was an extremely central focus of this ministry trip. And so we spent some time there in that church and walked around Helsinki. We went into the older part of the city. This is the city square. Very large church. Was it a Lutheran church? I think a Lutheran church. You can see a little bit off to the left and several stairs to be able to walk up. And beautiful facilities. And spent some time there in Helsinki. Got back on the ferry and took it across the Gulf back to Tallinn. I don't know if anybody wants to share anything with Helsinki of what happened there. Or I had, walking across a square, I saw a guy coming towards me, and he has this green sweatshirt on with yellow, and I'm like, man, that looks like a North Stars shirt. And the closer I got, sure it was, and Minnesota North Stars, their old hockey team. And I'm walking past, and I stopped, and I talked to him, and made a connection with this kid for just a few minutes, walking across the square. And it was just a good reminder to me of always looking for things you can connect people with. What is there that they have that I can connect with, that can start a conversation with? And so we had a good conversation for about 10 minutes, all over a North Stars shirt that started it all. So God will give you some creative ideas. Helsinki was an enjoyable day spending there. Again, we came back, and then on Sunday, some went to play volleyball, and others went to the Song Festival. The volleyball, does anybody who went there want to share just a little bit about it, or what they do, or why they even play volleyball, or what that's all about?
Sure. We took an Uber to this beach, and then they had like several volleyball courts, and there was not good service, so we had to walk around until we found the right one. And then we found the one that they were all at. And there was some other like locals there who they always like have a group chat, and they'll just like text like, oh, we're going to play volleyball, and then they'll all like get together and do that. So that was fun. We were not very good, but it was fun, and we got to connect with them and hear more about their lives.
Yeah.
It also like downpoured when we got to the beach, so we were just drenched full of sand, so that was fun.
And that's the Baltic Sea there, correct? That you see behind them. That Sunday, after that, they met the rest of us. They had their song festival. Now, this is pretty amazing because every 5 years they have a song and dance festival. We were able to go to the song festival, and what it is, it's celebrating their freedom and liberty through song. And it happens every 5 years. We were supposed to go the beginning to middle of June, but because of certain scheduling things with our missionaries, we had to change, go the end, right at the very end of June into July, which put us right at the exact time that this song festival was going on, where we were able to be a part of that. Even Jordy and Elizabeth had never gone to it before. And so what happens is you have all of these people gathering together. This is just one picture. A 20,000 person choir. When they're all gathered together, and then they switched choirs, different cities would come in and have choirs that would sing. They did a long parade of everybody who was a part of this. And in the crowd, that's just a small segment of the crowd, there's about 100,000 people who gather there, and it did rain. And there were areas, two kids were at some pictures of kids playing in the mud and all of that. But just to see all of these people gathered together it was pretty awesome thing to be a part of. Their prayer is that one day it's filled with 100,000 people who are worshiping the Lord and praising Him. It's a great thing to gather together for what they did, but to do that would be pretty awesome. And I don't know if anyone wants to share anything with the Song Festival or anything that stuck out to you with that. Jerry?
I really, you couldn't really see it because everybody had rain gear on, but they were all dressed in different clothing or different outfits from their countries, and that was really, I like that.
Yeah.
It was really pretty.
Yeah.
Some of them, what you could see.
Yeah, it was a great thing to be a part of and experience. Couldn't really understand most of the words of what they're singing because it's in Estonian. They have their own language. Many of them do speak English, especially a younger generation. So even ministering most of the time you could converse with people in English. A little bit older generation, not quite as much, but it was very still easy to be able to communicate for the most part with individuals. One of the other days we went to, we took a bus down to Riga, Latvia. So we were in Estonia most of the time, a day in Finland, and then another day down in Latvia. The main purpose of this trip, there are no Assembly of God missionaries currently in Latvia, have not been there for several years. Their prayer is that we have missionaries, a team of missionaries actually in Latvia. So the goal was we're going to go down and we want to spend the day praying. And we gathered together and then we broke into 2 different groups and went into different areas to spend time praying over specific areas for the city, for the country, for a move of the Spirit of God. And this is something that's a very important part of the ministry is prayer. Walking and praying, and this is what we did a lot also in Tallinn, where we would be praying, going out praying. We did prayer walks. Actually, there's a picture that we went out one day for a prayer walk, and we went to the cemetery? What was it? What's it called? The cemetery park, I believe it. How many of you want to go to a cemetery park? You know what it is? It's actually a cemetery, but all of the headstones are all removed. When the Soviet Union came in, they wanted to erase Estonian history. So what they did is they cut off, removed all of the headstones in this area and in this cemetery and made it into a park. The bodies are still there under the ground, but all the headstones are gone. And so it's called Cemetery Park. And what we did, there were a few of us that it was to be a prayer walk, but Elizabeth caught us all on scooters. So we hopped on scooters and didn't walk, we scootered. We scootered and prayed, and you can do that too. But we went to this cemetery and just walked through it and praying for the people in that area, in that region of the city. And so that's a really important part of what they do. It's prayer and then casting of nets, which is connecting with people, conversation, and planting seed into the lives of individuals. Here you see a group of the ladies. Now, the one in the middle is Sonia. She was an intern there for a few months working with Jordy and Elizabeth. And one of the main areas that some of the groups went into was Teleskivi. Teleskivi is a very artsy area, a lot of people out and about, and it's going into those areas and praying as you walk and looking for opportunities to minister and to share with people and to share the gospel. And what I want us to do is just take a few moments, and maybe if some of you would be willing to share of some of those experiences that you had on any of those days, or even throughout this trip, of the connections that you're able to make with people and some testimonies along that line.
I'll start. So I was on the bus trip back from Riga. How long was that bus trip? 4 hours? And so it's kind of been a long day, and it's assigned seats on the bus, which I thought was weird. Like, here we don't have assigned seats on the bus. So I had my assigned seat, and I was sitting next to a young gal from Riga. And normally, the culture there is people are very stoic. They don't like to share. They very much keep to themselves. And anyone who knows me knows I'm a very extroverted person. So if you're sitting next to me on the bus, we're going to have a conversation. And but she was very chatty. She was about 21 years old. She's an interior design student. And we talked like the whole time. She got off halfway, and so we just chatted. I got to know her. I heard about her boyfriend. She wanted to know what we were doing there, so I was sharing about Jesus and talking about faith, and just those, like Pastor Scott says, divine appointments, just being yourself, talking with people, sharing your faith. Her name's Maria. I pray for her every day. That connection there. And then I thought, I'm going to take a nap the rest of the way, because we stopped. Well, then another guy gets on and sits in Maria's spot, and he was even more chatty than Maria, and his name was Paul, and I heard about his son and his wife, and he was very, very interested in hearing about the church and what we were doing, and he actually got on the tram with us, and Elizabeth was chatting with him. So just being available, even though I was kind of tired and wanted to snooze, like God put these people on the bus for me to talk to and share with, and so that was a really cool, one of my favorite parts of the whole trip.
One of the days, Grace, Chris, and I, we went to this coffee shop that is kind of on the way to the church, and it had always been busy. There was always people in there, and we thought, well, let's just go, maybe get some coffee, see if anybody else we can bless and buy their coffee and just talk. We got there, and there was absolutely nobody in there. So we sat there for a few minutes, and we're like, oh, should we go? And then this girl comes in, and Grace sees her walking across the street, and she looks about our age, and she asks if she can buy her coffee, and she says, oh yeah. And we sat down and talked for like an hour and a half about everything, like everything you could imagine, church and religion and faith and all that. But it was awesome. So
Yeah, she said like she's been to like several churches, but like she's never felt the spark, or like she never knew like that's where she should be. And she goes down the street that the Focus Church was on every day, because there's like a thrift store or something. She goes like at least once a week to it, and she said she didn't even know there was a church there. So we like gave her the address to it and like told her about it. And then we invited her to the game night they had at CoLab, but something came up with like her neighbor's dog or something, so she couldn't come. But we still like have her information, like we talk to her all the time, and we hope that she eventually stops at the church or at the coffee shop. And another day, me and Gretchen, who is from Colorado, she's Lori's niece, and we were walking, and we saw this kid with a scooter, and it looked like different from the other scooters, so we like were talking to him about it, and then he let us ride it, and it was like way more advanced than like those Bolt green scooters. It was like red and super fast. And then after we rode it, he told us that it was actually illegal to have, and like if we get caught riding it, like they can take it from us. So we were like, oh, probably should have told us that before, but we didn't get caught on it, so we were okay. But we talked to him, and he said that he used to go to church too, but then they moved to Estonia, and they like haven't really gone out and looked for one. So we told him too about CoLab and the church, but then he said he was moving to Spain, so I don't really know how he's doing, but I still pray for him and think about him, so hopefully he's doing good.
Anybody else want to share? Yeah.
I was thinking, okay, yeah, I will. So we were on our way to volleyball. It was Sarah and Grace and I, and we got a taxi or a Bolt, and I was in the front seat with him, and I tried to talk to him, and he was like, no English. I was like, okay, cool. But then I keep trying to talk to him, and then Sarah and Grace were laughing at me, but Sarah helped. She was like joining in, and we were trying to get him to talk more to us. And he actually really opened up. He wanted to tell us all about where he was from. He was showing us a video of Tajikistan, where he was originally from. So he spoke Russian, Turkish, and Persian, but no English and no Estonian. And so it was just really fascinating. Let's see, he had this little helicopter on his dashboard. And I'm like trying to think of ways to like connect with him. And I'm like, that's really cool. And like when you spin it, the momentum keeps it spinning. So he just like flicked it and it just kept going. And I was like, whoa, that's so cool. And he's like, what? And I was like, your helicopter is super cool. And so he hands it to me. So I'm sitting in the passenger seat playing with a helicopter. And Sarah and Grace are laughing at me. And we were singing to the radio, and I thought he seemed to really enjoy that, so he tried to find English songs that we would sing along to. And so we were just making a connection with him, and so at first it just seems like there's this cold frontier, like barrier to like getting to talk to them, but like as soon as you're like in a spot with them, just sitting with them, trying to converse, they actually really want to open up and they really want to communicate with you. And so that was just really special. And I ended up getting his Instagram, and I invited him to the coffee shop. He wasn't able to attend, but I still occasionally message him and praying for him as well. His name was Serbus, I believe. So, yeah.
All right. A lot of great opportunities. When we were in Riga, Latvia, as we broke up, we were in a park praying and just going out individually in those areas and then gathering together, praying together. While I'm there, the Lord spoke to my heart. There was a lady walking by. She had a bright shirt and pants on, and just felt prompted to pray for her. And then the Lord spoke something to me. He said, you can pray for any person at any time, and there's nothing that they can do to stop you, or nothing the devil can do to stop the power of your prayers from going to work in that person's life. You can do that at any time you want for any person. Whether I prompt your heart to pray for them, or you just see them and you start to pray for them, it allows God to go to work on their behalf, because I, as a covenant person with Almighty God, I'm opening up an avenue and access. And it just reminded me of, I love the way this is worded in James 5:16, the second portion of it in the Amplified Version. It says, the earnest, heartfelt, continued prayer of a righteous man makes tremendous power available, dynamic in its working. Every time you open your mouth and pray, the power of God goes to work. And this, I knew it, but it came again alive to me, that I can be sitting there looking calm and relaxed, and in the spirit realm causing battles to take place and power to be released and light to go into darkness just through those prayers. And so I'm thinking, as this lady is walking by, I didn't know anything about her. And just praying that God would send laborers across her path to share the gospel with her, and trusting that there's nothing she can do to stop this. And laborers are going to come across her path and share with her, and the gospel's going to be shared with her, and she'll have no idea that some person in a park when she was walking through in Riga, Latvia, was praying for her. And that part doesn't matter as far as the person being known. What matters is that the Lord goes to work in those situations. And what I love hearing is, many times when you're on a missions trip and you're out of your element and these people will never see me again, you go with purpose of, as they're sharing, we're sitting here at a coffee shop area with the intent of looking for opportunities to share with people. Do we live our life that way? Do I live my life that wherever I go, not that I have to share the 4 spiritual laws with every person I meet, am I looking for opportunities for God to open up, and I step through them to share maybe an encouraging word, to a scripture, to maybe it's an hour and a half and we share all the gospel with them. Maybe we have an opportunity to pray with them, maybe we don't. But what's happening is you're casting nets and you're sowing seed. And for me, it was, again, a realization that we as believers do not fully understand and comprehend the power that we have. And the reason that we are here is not to sit passively by and let one day pass and another day pass. We are here on mission. On mission. Not just to another country, here. Your job, you're on mission. Your family, you're on mission. Wherever you go, you are on mission. And are you listening to the Holy Spirit and willing to step out and minister in those areas? And so I challenge you, live this way. Not just a week, a year, live this way every day, and life becomes an adventure. And what I'd like to do, just in closing, if someone would be willing to share the opportunities that you had to share with others, but what did God do in your life? What was it that God spoke to you or ministered to you? If we just take a moment and share that, I think would be good.
Okay, I'll start us off. It's kind of a continuation of my story with the cab driver, just the idea that language doesn't have to be a barrier. Christ is using you and equipping you. And so I learned to say terra, which is hello. And as a good Midwesterner, I was walking down the street waving at people saying terra very excitedly, and everyone was just like, and so it wasn't getting a lot of responses, but in the moments when I would sit down with the cab driver or at the festival across from one of the dance team and just talk with them, they would really try to communicate back, even if they didn't speak English, which happened to me a lot with no one else, I don't think. But the dance team was actually from Russia, but they were Estonian, so that was interesting. But they spoke Russian and Estonian, and they would like whisper to each other after I asked a question to try to like confer and be like, okay, I think this is what she's asking, and then try to respond in English. And let's see here. With that, another thing that the team had told us is that the youth group that they do, I think through the International Church, is done in English, which they were worried about at first, but there is a large population of Russians in Estonia, as well as Estonians, and so they get both Russians and Estonian children at this International Church, and English actually acts as a bridge for their languages. And so it actually was a blessing that it was in English for both Russian and Estonian children to be able to do something together. And that is just so, that was just so encouraging, and so just such a God moment to hear that that's how he was working through the language, even though they weren't doing it in Estonian, that wasn't a barrier for God, and so that was awesome. And then similarly with the festival, I think Pastor Scott had already talked about this, but just like I said, when I was saying hello, like just on the street, like they're very cool, reserved, and they were just like a polite nod. But at the festival, like I went to the parade, and there was just such a drastic change in just their joy, and it was just amazing to see, and just thinking like that this is the joy that they feel embracing their history and remembering that they have freedom from the occupation of Russia, and so just that joy of being able to express that freedom, and just how beautiful it will be when they get to express their freedom from sin and freedom from this world and in Jesus Christ. And so just a hope and a prayer for that.
Well, for me, the Lord really opened my eyes and stirred my heart a little bit more for missions. You know, we go donate to missions, and we expect that what we give, we're part of the mission of where our missionaries are going. And for me, it just, to work with Jordan Elizabeth was an eye-opener. You know, a lot of times for me, and this is just thinking back when people talk about going on mission trips, they talk about they're going to be serving the orphans, or working with the orphans, they're going to be painting, they're going to be building, they're going to be doing those things. And while we did those things, the prayer part of it and working on a day-to-day basis on what Jordan Elizabeth do see, where they're out casting nets and joining with their group, to obviously bring people to Christ. And so it was an eye-opener, and during that time the Lord just really opened and stirred my heart more to missions, that even while that's going on over in foreign countries, when we come back here, our ground here, our communities are our mission field as well.
Yeah, I feel like mine is kind of the same as Sarah and Pastor Scott has been saying, but you don't have to like go to another country or build a church or paint houses to be a missionary, and that like my eyes are really open to that, because all my other mission trips I've been on, they were like that, and it was like sleeping on air mattresses and like doing physical labor every day. But like everyday life, like I'm not going to be doing that every day, and especially like I'm going to college, so it's like there's going to be less opportunities for me to like go out and serve people. So that's why like on this trip I learned like having godly intentions behind praying for people, talking to people, buying coffee for people, doing small acts of service even. It's like when you have godly intentions behind that, then God will do the other side. He could prompt the other person you're talking to, be like, maybe they'll ask like, why am I being so nice to them? Or maybe it's just a seed, and then he'll continue to water that and work in their lives. But it's just when you have the godly intention behind the small actions, like that's being a missionary. And this showed me that's way more, like I can use that more in my life than like building churches every day.
I would have to agree. That coming back home, I can pray for anybody that God puts on my heart at any time. Prayer is really powerful, and this trip kind of just confirmed that, and also that God will put the right people in your life at the right time, just for everybody. So
It ditto to all that. And in addition, Sarah and I were on, I don't know if we're casting nets or on a prayer walk or what we were doing, but there's a lot of blatant sin advertised over there, more so than here. And, you know, the judgmental side's like, oh, I can't believe that would be posted on a billboard or in a building. But we stopped. That was my first thought. But I said, let's stop and pray right now. When we see that, let's pray. Let's ask God to come into this situation. And so for me, it just, again, touched my heart. Like, don't just be judgmental. Don't be judgmental about that. Stop and pray and ask God to come into that. Because I've never been in a place that's so dark, and you can feel it. And learning about their history and culture, there's a reason it's dark, right? It was suppressed by communism. They were invaded multiple times. I mean, there's no doubt you don't wonder why they're stoic and cautious, because they've been mistreated many, many times. And, but they need the light of Jesus, and just the missionaries, their passion and their excitement to be there in a very dark place. And for me too, the praying for the missionaries is I have a new perspective of that, because they rely on that. They literally rely on our prayers, because there's 12 of them in a country in a city of 400,000 people that have no religion at all. And so they need our prayers, and they covet them very much.
I was challenged through this trip. I was challenged to step out of my comfort zone and to take the word of God to everybody, everywhere, until one seed at a time. And I need to just to trust. I might not know the results of all the seeds that I planted or had the opportunity to share, but I have the assurance to know that God keeps his promise and he'll finish the work that's been started. I just need to do my part and to step up and step out for the Lord.
And I'll keep it brief because I know you want to get out of here. So, while we were there, Pastor Scott suggested we read this book called Attack Lambs. And so we decided that that's what we are. We are attack lambs, and we do prayer strikes is what we call them. So we had these bookmarks made up. I left some out there just as a reminder that that's what we all need to do, is we have to gently attack with our words and our message. One of the things, like I say all the time, is, Jesus just needs to get back here. And it was laid on my heart that that's really a selfish thing for me to say, because there's a lot of people that if he came back today would not go to heaven, and I need to be the one that tells them about that. So I'm not going to say that anymore, even though that's going to be a great day. He's not coming back until everybody is heard, and it's my responsibility to tell as many people as I possibly can.
Awesome. Thank you all. Very powerful words that you all shared and what the Lord did in your heart. And please pray for Jordy and Elizabeth. God's directing them in a little bit different way from what they were looking at when they originally went over. And there's a strategic plan of reaching Estonian people. There are very, very few true Estonian churches. There are international churches that are reaching an international community, but their heart is to reach the native people. And there's a plan that they have. They believe that the Lord's laid on their heart, and as a team, and they need individuals to help with this. And just pray that God would open up those doors. They were running into some visa issues that's now been taken care of. And so God's taking care of those things, but please pray for them. They're excited. I can just tell of what the Lord is doing in their heart, moving them to another level of just that urgency of taking the good news of Jesus to Estonia, and then eventually even the other countries that are around there. So pray for our missionaries. Pray for these missionaries. I am extremely proud of the team of people who were on this missions trip. They handled everything with excellence, with dignity, with integrity, the leading of the Holy Spirit. It was truly a joy to be a part of this and see what God was doing in them and through them. And I look forward to, I love every trip. You become a family. This is my family. You're my family. But you make those connections with people when you go through something with them. And continue to pray for the people. What I love is the people we connected with in Estonia and Latvia. it doesn't matter. There's no distance in prayer. We can keep praying for them, and God is going to continue to do some wonderful things. So thank you for your prayers, your support, allowing us to go.